Totri, I see you're wearing the headset. That means you were calling plays today, right?
No comment. A happy game day, and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils post-game show live from El Paso, Texas. Of course, presented by Branded Bills. Make sure you head to brandedbills.com and use that code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. Unfortunately, this is a walk of shame. Our final walk of shame, our final post-game show here in 2025. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by my passenger princess, Eric Ruby. And of course, the Deli Man is behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Rubus, a ton to get into. We've got sound from players, from Kenny Dillingham himself. I know we've got some bottle service to give out. This was a wild, wild way to stamp out 2025 to a bizarre season. It didn't go the way that Arizona State wanted it. Didn't go the way that fans maybe thought it was going to go, especially with about 2 minutes and change left in the game. A Sun Devil loss, 42-39 to the ACC champs. What say you, Rubus?
I say if I wasn't an Arizona State fan, I'd call this the best bowl game of the year. I mean, genuinely, this was one of the most insane football games I feel like we saw this season, let alone this bowl season. I mean, what a weird, awesome, strange game. There were ejections. There were great celebrations. There were long touchdowns. There was lots of answering back. And for what a lot of people would call a meaningless bowl game, which is kind of what a lot of people just deem bowl games are in general now, there was a lot of passion on both sides of the ball. And that was nice to see. Both of these teams really did put a lot into playing the game today. So from an objective, neutral standpoint, it was a hell of a game. It was a drunk game. From an Arizona State standpoint, I think you can kind of have a split mind here, and I think it's okay to feel both of those. Number one, kind of sucks because it really felt like they should have won this game. This game was in their hands. They played good enough to win it. And number two is, as much as it stings, you saw some really great performances, either some final performances or some first performances from some of the young guys that get you excited about the future. So there's kind of a mixed bag of emotions that I feel like I'm pulling from right now. I'm wondering kind of where you're sitting when it comes to just the ASU side of this.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you hit the nail on the head. First and foremost, if you are completely unbiased in this game and you're just watching as a football fan, outside of any of the CFP games, this was the most exciting, a bowl game that we've seen, maybe not even just this year, but in recent seasons, right? It had everything, like you said. Now, specifically from that ASU perspective, I think you feel robbed in a little bit of a way because this was the game. The game should have been over after the fourth down stop in the red zone, right? Arizona State should have been able to march down the field, something they'd done all game long, setting the Sun Bowl record now for a single team's total offense with over 600 yards of offense for Arizona State. We know what happens. Jason Brown gets the carry, fumbles it. Whether it was a fumble, not a fumble, regardless, right? Like, this game felt like yours for the taking. So you can have all of the other elements like you brought up, right? You can have an improved offense. You can see some real maybe potential building blocks with some of these younger players, which I know we'll sink our teeth into a little bit later on as the show carries on. But you had all those things. You had a great fan turnout, over 40,000 folks here. With all of the things that have gone on over the last 2.5 weeks, right? Like, this was awesome. It was setting up to be awesome, right? You were going to be a Power 4 team. a Power Four conference champion at a neutral site. Your offense looked incredible. The young guys looked awesome, and then the game fell apart right at the very end. You have the fumble. Game doesn't end there. Of course, defensively, there was some lapses in coverage. I'm not big on picking on specific individuals when we're talking 18, 19, 20-year-olds. There is at least one individual in my mind that shouldn't have been on the field if you were trying to win the game. I get you're trying to give reps to some of these kids. I understand that you want them to see what this environment was like. But at the end of the day, there are certain players that just, in my mind, I don't think were ready for this type of moment. And I think ultimately it did hurt Arizona State in a certain way. I'm not referencing Jason Brown Jr., by the way. I don't want that to get taken out of context. Jason Brown Jr. was absolutely phenomenal today. You remove that one fumble and ASU wins this game, and we're potentially talking about Jason Brown Jr., Jeff Sims for the Sun Bowl MVP today. But it is what it is at this point, right? You scored 39 points if you're ASU's offense, and at the end of the day, it wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't enough. It should have been enough. I think there's an entire conversation to have about this is the best the offense has looked all year. And I see some conversation in the chat about, it's no excuse that you didn't have all these starters playing. And
Absolutely
again,
not.
And here's the thing. I'm almost like in split brain mode right now. It's like my left brain and my right brain are like fighting with each other because in a vacuum on the field with what this game was and what it presented you, like, yeah, you should have won this game. And there are no excuses because you should have won this game. You had all the tools to win this game. You were set up to win this game. The other part of my brain is pulling, though, and maybe not necessarily making an excuse, but looking at it from the sense of, when you go down on the depth chart for the start of this season at ASU and you look at all the players who did not play today and you look at all the players that did and the performances that you got against this Duke team who was not missing a ton of their talent, especially not nearly the level of Arizona State, it is objectively impressive that it is the best the offense has looked all year. And this defense, yeah, Duke put up 42 points. It's what Duke did all year, but the defense was even more decimated than the offense. It felt
far
like
more decimated than the offense,
especially when it came to the secondary.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
I think you saw these big plays where ASU's defense would overall play solid. And then, a couple of times in this game, one mistake, one miscoverage.
That's all it takes, right?
And that's what happened a couple of times. And again, that's frustrating. And I get it. Like, it's frustrating as a fan of this team to watch that. But you also have to look at it objectively and say, a lot of the players that were on the field today, this was their first substantial run all season.
Yeah.
And should they have made those mistakes? No, they shouldn't have. But does it make more sense that they did instead of some of these guys that are perennial starters on a good Big 12 team? Like, yeah, it makes sense. And it sucks. If they won this game, all those mental lapses wouldn't have mattered. We would have started off this show talking about the awesome touchdown celebrations, Justin Watley coming back from injury and playing well, Tony Lewis and Kuba's first career interception. Like, the tone of this would be so different, obviously, but at the end of the day, the result and the product is pretty similar, whether it was 42-39 Duke or whether ASU won by 4 points.
Yeah, 1,000%, right? And I think for this game is going to, in reality, it's not going to sting, right, for the fans. It's the Sun Bowl, right? This bowl game, in theory, means nothing. It's not like you get a ton for this actual game. Would it be nice to end the year with a win? 1,000%. But I think more so, this is going to be a hard lesson learned for the players, right? We talked leading up to this game. We talked even at the start of this post-game and pre-game and the show yesterday about how you're getting young players. You're getting Joseph Smith. You're getting Albert Smith. You're getting Tony Lewis and Kuba. You're getting Martell Hughes. You're getting Kyan McDonald on offense. You're getting, Jason Brown Jr., Grayson Rigdon, Man, all these young players, and they're getting valuable reps, right? They're getting valuable game time minutes that are going to mean something for them down the line. Right? When we get to 2026 and these guys have their numbers called, okay, maybe the nerves aren't there anymore, right? Maybe they're a little bit more familiar with certain things going into, games in the future and moments in the future. This was a lesson, right? From the fumble, the final 4 minutes of this game were a lesson that these guys ultimately needed to learn, right? And I think it's going to be a very valuable lesson. I think this loss is going to sting a lot more for the players than it is the fan base. Not to say that all the losses don't sting more for the players than the actual fan base, but this one specifically because it felt like they had it, right? It felt like it was right there, and then ultimately you let it go. And I don't want to make just wild parallels, but think back to that 2023 season, right? What did Kenny Dillingham say time and again, post-game presser, weekly presser? This team needs to find ways to win. They don't know how to win yet, right? They don't know how to do something that they've never done before. How do you win? Well, you just go do it. You get over the hump, right? You don't stop. And I think this is a perfect example of you have a lot of really talented guys on this team, vets, young players, coaches. I think that is apparently clear, right? Because you were missing a number of key players on both sides of the ball for Arizona State, and you took the ACC champs to the wire, right? And again, no moral victories, but at the end of the day, this game for Arizona State, these young guys, when it mattered most, didn't know how to win, right? And again, I'd rather you have this moment right here in the 2025 Sun Bowl than maybe open the year week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or get into conference play next year and have these mental errors and not know how to win, right? Because I guarantee you, the young players that did play in this game, you get to 2026, there's less than 4 minutes on the clock. Every single one of them that played in this game today will tell you, well, it ain't over until that final whistle. And I think that, again, was really made apparent for these young guys today, and that they had to learn that lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And it's tough it came in this spot too, and with this season. And we've talked about it for a long time now, where obviously this season, I think overall has left a sour taste in the fan base's mouth, and that's unfortunate. And I completely understand it. And I think even from my perspective, I know you and I are in a little bit of different place with this. Like I feel similarly to that. And it's also been like a month since they played last, right? And obviously the last time they played, brutal, like a brutal performance. And then this game comes around and you see like this hope and you see them having fun, and you are having fun. I mean, Jeff Sims had a great game, obviously, until the very end.
His best game of his career. Best game of Jeff Sims' career was today.
And I don't put this loss on him. And I really, like, I know some people will point to that last interception as, oh, that's the moment. I don't think that was the moment. But like, you had Jeff Sims playing great, Jalen Moss over 100 yards. You had great performances from a ton of different wide receivers. Young running backs stepped up. Like, and young again, linemen. It is, yeah, and like it is. I don't want to say like a moral victory, but again, I think you have to find a middle ground here. And there are people, and I think we should talk about this after a break here in a minute, who are coming at Kenny's neck right now about some of the decision making and the play calling and all of that. And I know that's a conversation we'll get into here in a second, but to not acknowledge the circumstances that this team was in and the amount of talent that they lost, I think does a disservice to just being like a neutral observer of football. Nobody's going to sit here and tell you it's an excuse and that's why they lost. They lost because they didn't make plays in the game, and they totally should have won. But I think it's impressive to go around and be like, look, this is the best offensive performance we've seen in over 365 days from this team, Totri. And no Sam Levitt, Raleek Brown, or Jordan Tyson. That's it.
The list goes longer than that, right? They were without their top 3 running backs today. They were without their starting tight end. They were without 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. They were without QB1, wide receiver 1. Like, this offense was bare bones going into this game, which means the players out there and the depth behind those players was bare bone. And then you go to the defense. That secondary, none of the fans watching this game, even the diehard fans, had ever seen Joseph Smith and Tony Lewis and Kuba out there at the same time playing football, right? And you saw that today. You saw what the future could potentially look like for those 2 players at Arizona State. You saw a lot more of Martell Hughes, which I think was really exciting, coupled up with Jordan Crook at that linebacker position. You saw some bits and pieces of young defensive linemen, of the safeties, etc. But yeah, at the end of the day, let's call this what it is. You had a lot of young, inexperienced players that if the starters were there and this was like a college football playoff game, wouldn't necessarily be playing in this game. But that's not what the Sun Bowl is about, right? That's not what this set of bowl practices was about for Arizona State. Yes, do you want to win the game? Absolutely. But what does Kenny Dillingham harp on really since he got here, right? Being the best version of yourself, which always sounds like coach speak. It is to an extent, but I think you genuinely saw each and every one of these players get better today, and I think that is going to mean something in the long run. The folks that are calling for Kenny's job, or I can't even read the comments right now. Like it is what it is, man. They didn't lose this. They lost this game in my mind because, like you said, they didn't make more plays than Duke when it mattered most. That's it. If you're upset that Kenny went for it on fourth down a number of times in the second quarter or whenever, and you're upset about it, my advice to you would be then to go back every single game in the 2025 season and watch every single punt in the 2025 season, and you tell me if you'd rather have that than a chance to go for it with what are considered your best players on the field offensively. And I guarantee you, if you choose to punt it every single time, well, you have a long future as an armchair head coach for, I don't know, more furniture or something, man. Like, because that's what it is. They didn't lose this game because they went for it a couple times in the second quarter. It's lazy. They had over 600 yards of offense. Think about that. There has never been an offense. This is the 92nd Sun Bowl in history, okay? There have been 92 of these games. Not a single team over the last 92 seasons has come to this stadium in the Sun Bowl and gone up and down the field more often than Arizona State on offense. Not a single one. So you can't sit here and tell me that, a couple plays where they went for it on like a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 5 are the reason that they didn't win this game. It's a sorry-ass excuse. It's not why they lost this game. In all honesty, this offense looked better than it's ever looked in the last 365 days, to your point, right? Like, it is what it is, right? That last 3 minutes for this team were atrocious. They were not exactly what you had seen through the first 4 quarters by any means. You were used to offensive fireworks. The defense was making plays when they needed to. They weren't great throughout the entire game, right? The inexperience that you saw, I think, at a number of times. But ultimately, this team shot themselves in the foot far too many times down the stretch in key moments. That's why they lost this game, not because they went for it on fourth down.
Yeah, and that's not coaching.
How it is. No,
and that's not coaching. Like, and here's the thing: there are people in the chat right now who's like, "Oh, these guys, they shill for Kenny Dillingham. They shill." It's like,
Kenny doesn't like pay our checks. Like,
look, I think there were some fourth down calls. I think like the tush push with Jeff Sims at like 4th and almost 2. I think that was a bad decision. But I do think that the mentality that they walked in there today with was, we are going to do the absolute most, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And 600 plus yards of offense stuck. And again, in some key moments, in some critical times, they made big plays. Now, the players individually, and I know it sucks because we don't really want to single out players, and 2 different players at very different parts of their careers made 2 mistakes at the end of the game. That is the only reason why Duke won. Now,
I'm curious go ahead, sorry.
I think, again, you could point out maybe there was some personnel out there on defense on that final defensive possession. I think that's something you could point to.
That's what I attested to, man. I'm going to be completely honest.
And I think, again, that is coaching, right? Which, again, isn't just Kenny Dillingham. That's like the entire team. That's personnel decisions. There was a whole thought process in doing that. They're not just picking dudes and throwing them out there. And if they are, then again, that's bad coaching. But you can look at some individual plays and be like, you know what? Don't think that was the best decision. But overall, the game plan that Arizona State walked into here with today was the right one. They should have won this game. And individual mistakes and individual players, it felt like, cost them that, especially on the offensive end. Maybe personnel decisions on the defensive end. But again, you don't lose a game the way that Arizona State lost a game if there isn't blame to go around. Yeah. And that includes the coaching staff. It wasn't a perfectly called game, but there are people who are like, fire Kenny, get ready. It's just like, come on, man. Like, come on. Let's just be realistic. Let's just be realistic here.
You can't. It's arguing with a wall, Eric. You can't talk sense into somebody that doesn't want to understand it. And the people that call for the Kenny stuff here, you're what's wrong with college football. Like, it's just point blank period. You're absolutely what's wrong with the sport. Go watch baseball. Do something else. Because it's clear. It's clear you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, I get it. Everybody has an opinion. Maybe keep yours to yourself, right? Like, that's all I can say at this point in time. If you don't know what you're talking about, then you don't know what you're talking about. Look, we still got a ton to get into. We've got sound from Kenny, got sound from the players. Going to continue to break down this game, what worked, what didn't, some key players that could be young building blocks for this team in the future. Hit that like button, and we'll see you on the other side of this first break.
Let's all take a breath and let's celebrate the New Year's. And we could do that with our friends over at Three Amigos, because around here we cheer hard, we'll cry hard, and we always keep it local. That's why Three Amigos Tequila is a staple for Arizona State fans. Family owned right here in the Valley and founded in 1939 and crafted in Mexico with 100% Blue Weber agave. It's award winning for a reason. Smooth, bold, and made for moments that matter. What makes Three Amigos different? Well, it's easy. It's the agave they farm themselves. No outsourcing needed. They create a true farm-to-glass tequila, and you can taste it in every single sip. And you know what's just as exciting as how good Three Amigos is? It's the fact that the Blanco is now available at our favorite spot at Circle K. So this season, tailgate, toast, celebrate, mourn, ring in the new year with our friends over at Three Amigos, the Valley's and PHNX's favorite tequila. And also a big shout out to the husband and wife law team. Look, the New Year's brings lots of good times, lots of things to look forward to, but also you never know what might happen in the future. If something bad happens, a serious accident, an injury, you have to call the husband and wife law team first for a variety of reasons, not just because they have a ton of lawyers who are extremely experienced, bringing hundreds of years of combined trial experience, but it's the type of experience they have. Multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death, and their practice is 100% dedicated to personal injury and wrongful death litigation. You can call your attorney at all times, and that's one of the many promises that they're willing to make you, along with a lot of other things. Now, nobody can guarantee the outcome to a legal case, but they will tell you the pros and the cons to your case so that you can make the most informed decision. Plus, you'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they reduce their attorney's fee to do so. So if you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841, or visit their website at the link in our show notes and tell them that PHNX sent you. And hopefully you're all going to be sending yourselves to Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass on January 5th for a Gila River Resorts and Casinos watch party for the PHNX Suns, and the Suns taking on the Houston Rockets. Join myself and the entire Suns crew on January 5th. Espo's buying drinks. We're having a giveaway, pregame show, postgame show, so many more fun things. RSVP for free to be entered in one of our raffles over at gophnx.com/events. Totri, I have a question to ask you after I ask everybody to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you are also a member, as we will continue off-season coverage here on PHNX Sun Devils. There's mixed reporting and a lot of conversation about who was calling plays today.
Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge, who was calling plays today?
Well, we've got some sound from Kenny Dillingham, which we'll toss to shortly, addressing this very question. Marcus Arroyo was calling the plays today. Now, I know that there was a lot of chatter because what the broadcast was saying, because they were showing Dilly with his headset on. Marcus was calling the plays, relaying them to Kenny, and Kenny was relaying them to Jeff. So Marcus, at the end of the day, was calling the plays. I understand why there were questions about it, because it did feel like maybe it was different than something we had seen in the past. In this offense in general looked like it had a spark that we hadn't seen in some time. So I think a lot of folks obviously wanted to attribute that to Kenny Dillingham, calling the plays. At the end of the day, the reporting on the whole situation, Kenny Dillingham was not outright calling the plays for Arizona State's offense today. And he was asked in his post-game press conference about his role in the offense, if he was calling plays, and so much more. That's what he had to say.
Yeah, we were just working together to try to score points and be the best version of us we can be. And Marcus is a phenomenal football coach. I mean, I think he finished like second or third for the Burroughs Award last year. So a phenomenal football coach. So us just working together. I miss football, so I wanted to start doing. When I got here, I couldn't do a lot of football just because we had other things that I had to worry about. And I think we're to a point as a program, based off the administration and what they're doing to help, that I get to coach a little bit more football, and football is fun. So, yeah.
Were you very involved with the game planning also, a little more so on the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a group effort, and we're all working together. But, I'm an offensive guy, and when I get involved in football more, obviously I want to lean to one side over the other. But like I said, I think we have a really good football staff that we all kind of put it together, and we all work on it together. And our administration's, allowed me, through some of the things that they've done, to allow a staff around me that's going to let me, coach a little bit more football. And that's what I love to do. So it was fun getting to coach football. It sucks losing.
So he wasn't calling plays today, but if you were an Arizona State fan, amped and excited about 2026 offense, sounds like we could see a little bit more with Kenny having his hand in the cookie jar in the best way possible for ASU's offense.
Yeah, and I think that's a good decision. And again, I don't think you take Marcus Arroyo completely out of it. Marcus Arroyo was the play caller for the best season that this program has had in quite some time and one of the most magical seasons ever. Yeah. Now, again, that play calling is a little bit more simplified when you have the human bowling ball back there. But again, there was still some really ballsy play calls and a lot of different ones. And there was an issue this year, though. And I don't think that as a head coach, you can sit back and look at your red zone problems and to look at your opening drive problems. The first opening drive touchdown against an FBS opponent this year happened today.
The first first quarter touchdown against an FBS opponent since the Big 12 championship.
And that's unacceptable. If he went into next year and there was any changes at all to the offensive protocols, that's unacceptable. And I think, again, the way that you look at this game is like a mini spring ball, which is unfortunate that this is what bowl season has become for the non-playoff games.
Is it,
and again,
though? I get some people hate it.
It does suck a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that's a conversation.
It's probably a conversation for another time, but here we are. We're in El Paso for the Sun Bowl, right? I think everybody was excited that you got to see the team play again. You're excited you got to see young players. And in all honesty, if this is a blowout loss, everyone's saying, well, if the starters would have played, it is what it is, right? Well, guess what? Starters didn't play, right? And that's not changing. We're not going to go into bowl season in 5 years from now and say, guess what? Every starter's playing if this is the same calendar that you're working with. It's just, this is what bowl season is. The bowl games are, in theory, dying out, right? You got a great game today, and I think that's something that you can enjoy as a fan base. But if you really want to say, what did we get out of bowl season outside of a win or loss? It's the fact that you get those practices with the young guys. It's the fact that you get a non-home game against a team that you would likely never play unless it was the playoff at a neutral site to get some game experience. That's what bowl season is now, right? It is a glorified opportunity for these younger players to get in the game and get some experience without counting against you in, a monumental way during the actual season. That's what this is at this point in time. And I think you just have to suck it up and deal with it at this point in time because they don't need to expand the playoff.
I'm not arguing with what it is. I'm not arguing with what it is. I'm just saying I think it is a little unfortunate that it's become that. And again, I think, like you said, there are benefits and there are positives to it, and there's nothing that we can do to change it. But and I liked, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, it did feel like both teams really did take this seriously when it came to the intensity that they were playing with today.
Duke's whole offense was out there.
Yeah, and also, look, they were talking crap to each other. Guys were getting thrown out. This was a chippy game. This was not a game from teams that didn't care. And I think that in its own right is great. But I just think overall, and again, I think we can get into this maybe more on Friday, but it's unfortunate that this is just okay, let's look at the future, right? And there is benefit to that, though. Kind of back to the Kenny conversation that we were having, though, because a lot of what the chat is talking about is kind of dictating with that. I think you and I can both acknowledge that there were some play calls and there were some decisions that weren't great. It wasn't a perfect game.
But what are we who are we? We're putting that on Kenny?
But I think, you're the head coach. You get the glory, and you get the blame. And you're right, it's not just on him. But if you're gonna be looking at one guy, you're gonna look at him. And if he is gonna be more involved in the offense, you can look at the goods, which I think you should, which is over 600 yards. Jeff Sims' best game of his career. Yeah. All these young guys stepping up, and then the negatives, which was there were a couple key spots where ASU I feel didn't drop the right play. But again, if that tush push at 4th and 1.5 gained them 1.5 yards. It's such a result oriented thing. And the results were overwhelmingly positive from the offensive side of things tonight.
Yeah, that's where I want to go with this. Because if we're talking about you have to blame somebody, I don't know why you're blaming anybody in the offensive room. 39 points is that not the most or second most that they've scored all season long? Right?
I think it's the most.
Something along those lines. It was the most offensive yards they had all season long. The most, again, that they've had in Sun Bowl
38 against
history,
NAU.
right? Like
38 against NAU.
Like, what are we talking about here? The offense doesn't deserve they did their part. For 3 quarters and change, they did their part. And I get you got to go to the final whistle. I understand that. You want to talk about the fumble, talk about the pick, whatever. Jeff Sims had his best game today as a college football player, right? Jason Brown Jr., who has rarely ever seen the field at this level, rushed for over 100 yards today. Malik McClain had himself a day, found the end zone. Jalen Moss did the exact same thing, right? Like, I'm not putting blame on the offense. I get it. You have to put blame somewhere or another. Like, call it what it is. The defense gave up 42 points today, right? And yes, the immediate response to that is, well, the secondary, right? You're starting 2 corners, they're gone. One's in the portal, one's heading to the league. One of your safeties that hasn't been playing all year long, he's gone, right? He's heading to the league. Boogie Wilson couldn't play today because of injury, right? So, like, yeah, it's a depleted team. But if we have to blame somebody here, I'm not blaming the offense. The offense scored 39 points and was whooping Duke's ass up and down the field for 3 quarters. That's just what it was. I get it. You can be upset that maybe they didn't run a certain play on 4th down or they went for it at a certain point, whatever. You can 100% have your gripes about it, especially the 2 turnovers down the stretch. That matters. That's important. It definitely played a role in Arizona State losing this game 1,000%. But if we're looking at the game as a whole, outside of just the 2 turnovers late, the defense gave up 42 points. That's what it is. That you want somebody to blame? That's who you're blaming.
Sure. And again, basically the entire 2 deep gone in the secondary, and for this Duke team specifically, which is one of the best passing teams in the country, one of the best passing teams in the ACC, a team that averaged 34 points per game on the dot the entire season, which was one of the best marks in the ACC. Like, it was a tough matchup. The same thing, though, the Duke's defense couldn't stop a nosebleed either. Like, Duke's defense was god-awful this entire season, and they were god-awful today. And you saw Arizona State take advantage of that, and the difference to what you're saying, though, with the defensive side of things, because I do agree from a holistic perspective, I think when you're looking at this game specifically, the defense did their job and got a really clutch stop, right? And the game should have been over then, right? Then a turnover for Arizona State on offense, literally immediately. Defense just got off the field. Got off the field. A great defensive possession, a tiring defensive possession. They get back on there. Duke marches down the field, scores. Again, we can have conversations as to why that happened, and that is on the defense. But if the offense had just buttoned it up, didn't turn the ball over the first time in the 4th quarter, completely different conversation about the defense. The conversation is, oh, well, they clutched it up. Again, they lost.
Still gave up 42 points.
Sure.
And even if they clutched it up, we're still talking about them giving up a ton of points today.
And if they didn't score that 7, which again is ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. Maybe I could be on the Sun Show and quote Devin Booker right now. But if Duke scored 35 points today, that's 1 point over their average against, again, a defense that's almost entire 2 deep in the secondary is not playing. Okay. Correct. It's not a great performance, but it's a performance you live with the type of team that Duke is putting out there. But of course, they didn't win. So what do you do when you lose? You look at all these individual plays, and it's just they all happen back to back to back to back right at the end. And that's brutal. And that's unfortunate.
That's football. Right? Like, every snap matters. It's a game of inches, all the cliches, and that's exactly what this was. Arizona State thought they sealed the game. The fan base thought they sealed the game. Hell, I thought they sealed the game. Next play, fumble, Duke gets it. 17-yard line, we're marching the other way. Game's far from over. I have some serious questions about some personnel decisions that late in the game, especially if you're trying to win the game. And they score. Duke scores. Arizona State can't really respond. Then, honestly, you get another chance. You get another chance, even after the interception, to put the game away. Or at least not to put the game away, but to come back in the game, right? To have like one more possession. You get it to 4th down. And that's that, right? But again, like the whole team deserves a little bit of blame, the coaches, players, etc. At the end of the day, you lost the game. It is a results-based industry. I get it. But I'll tell you what, if you're an offensive coordinator and your group scores 39 points regardless of turnovers, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good after scoring 39 points, like objectively, right? Like if you for 4 weeks knew you were going against Duke or whoever, and your unit put out 39 points, and you had 2 really, really untimely turnovers at the end of the game, which suck and immediately costed this team a big chance of winning this game. I'm still like, man, we scored 39 points, right?
Coach, that's the season high. They didn't score that many points against Northern Arizona University at home.
And I'll tell you, on the opposite side, in the opposite room, if you're a DC in a defensive staff and you get 42 points, you're not happy. You got a goal line stand. You're not happy. You score 40. They scored 42 points on you. Like, I'll tell you, one OC, again, the coordinators, they're different, right? Now, if this was a game where it was completely opposite and this was a 6-3 game, right? And maybe the defense gave up like a big play or a big drive, yeah, we're going to be talking about, man, it sucks they at the very end of the game, right, they gave up a big chunk play to put Duke in field goal position, right? Yeah, of course we're talking about that, but holistically, you're like, damn, the defense played great. The offense scored 3 points, right? Like, ultimately, we can nitpick and we can zoom in on one thing. They didn't lose the game because of a bad 2 minutes. That's not it, right? That's the easy way out. That's the way to say, like, the box score chasers, the people that watch, don't play, don't look, don't none of that. Yeah, the fumble and the INT hurt. Duke scored 42 points. That's what I got to say about it. For the folks that are like, it's the offensive fault. They screwed up. There was an interception. There was a fumble. Yeah, those things are obvious. For 4 quarters, Duke was marching up and down the field without any issues.
Yeah, they were. And I think we can continue this after a break here. But I do think that when you look at this game, I think you do have to look at that final 2 minutes just because there were multiple points where it felt like Arizona State should have won this game. Despite everything that had happened before, Arizona State should have won this game. And again, that's on the defense too. That final defensive possession, Duke marched down the field and they just scored, right? There was a chance. Arizona State was still up with, not a lot of time left to go in this game, and Duke just immediately put it to them and put 7 on the board.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, right? And so I think that we can continue this conversation, Totri. I think we should hear from some of the players, continue to hear from Kenny. We still have a lot to get into, and let's go ahead and get to it on the other side of our second break. Oh, Circle K, you'll never disappoint me. You're always consistent because I am a member of the Inner Circle. And I need gas, and I know on my way home, I'm going to stop by Circle K, and I'm going to be saving 5 cents off per gallon. But if you are not a member of the Inner Circle yet, well, don't worry about it. It's super easy and free to join. All you have to do is download the Circle K app, put in your phone number, put in your email, and it's just that easy. You're automatically saving money, like 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. But it's not just on gas. It's on everything, snacks and drinks. Last night, went to go play a little basketball for the first time in a long time. I'm like, I need a little hydration. I stopped in. I got a nice 2 for $5 electrolyte drink deal that they've been having for a couple of months there with my favorite electrolyte drink. At Circle K, you can get all the deals in the world. You can get it for free by joining the Inner Circle, by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. And look, we talked about Arizona Lottery being a great gift for the holiday season, and of course that's true, but Arizona Lottery is also just a great gift for yourself on a weekday, or maybe a birthday, or maybe a coworker is having a big event. Well, if you are over the age of 21, going to Arizona Lottery and getting a scratcher is the best way to celebrate. And right now, you can fuel your fun and celebrate big wins with cash and gas over at Circle K. They're partnering with Arizona Lottery to launch a new $2 cash and gas ticket available exclusively at Circle K locations statewide. Players have a chance to win big and enjoy instant rewards. Plus, you could save almost $1 per gallon instantly. Players can also win $10,000 cash or free gas for a year. Visit azplayersclub.com to learn about all of their points and promotions now. Play and gift today. And you can check the hat that I'm rocking right now. Look, through thick and thin, through wins, through losses, through ups and through downs, I'm rocking Branded Bills hats, because Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear, the best Arizona State headwear. I've got so many ASU Branded Bills hats. I got to clean out my closet and then get another closet, buy a storage unit, and put all of my hats in there. That's how many Branded Bills hats I have. Look, snapbacks, truckers, fitted beanies, or tees, they have you covered with everything. But it's not just Arizona State and other universities across the country, but they can partner with you personally, like they have with PHNX, getting our own PHNX branded Phoenix hats and beyond. If you want to get personal branding on a hat, on a t-shirt, whatever it is, Brandon Bills is the best for high quality performance and for style. They're a local company. You know we love local. Head to BrandonBills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. That's BrandonBills.com, code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. Woo!
Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Rubus, I just want to dive straight into Love the Play from our friends, presented by our friends over at Arizona Lottery. Make sure you play and gift today. What was your favorite play in this one, Rubus?
Ooh, man. The celebrations. I really liked the Jalen Moss jumping into the bowl of cereal and Jeff Sims posing in the cereal box. I think those were the two best moments from today.
Those were really good. I loved the fact that that's like what kind of went viral from this game was the guys jumping in the cereal, the Frosted Flakes, and then of course, the Jeff Sims photo op after he scampered into the end zone. I think for me, it was the Tony Lewis and Cuba INT. Somebody that has really put in work in practice since he got to ASU. Somebody that you can see it. You can see the potential there. You can see that this kid has something. And I think he's going to be a very talented player at Arizona State. I think he is certainly going to be a starter here one day. So for him to check in the game and then get his first career INT in the postseason, I think that's awesome for him. And regardless of all the issues that went on in the DB room, secondary, and just defense in general, to have Nkuba get that INT, I think was pretty special for him. I know.
Yeah, I mean, that was really cool. I think you saw a lot of really great plays for some of the young guys as well. I mean, even beyond the celebration, like Jalen Moss going out there, putting 5 catches for 129 yards.
Dude went nuts today. Went absolutely nuclear today.
There are not a lot of Arizona State wide receivers this season that have put up over 100 yards. I believe Jaron Hamilton, Jordan Tyson, and I don't know if anybody else did it at the end of the season. I don't know if Eusebio did it.
Malik McClain did it. Malik did it.
You know what? That's my guy. That is my guy who went out with honor and valor today. My guy, Malik McClain.
You know how many times
college career.
Malik McClain was targeted today?
No.
14 times.
Hey, and he caught 9 of them.
14 times today. Crazy.
He caught 9.
Yeah. Congratulations on the 9 catches. I mean, he found the end zone, which is awesome for him. It was awesome, ultimately, I think, to see a lot of the wide receivers do what they did today. That's not where I want to take this. I want to take this with Jeff Sims because I think Jeff Sims has been a really polarizing player at Arizona State since he's been here because of his past. Jeff Sims today rounded out his college career with the best single performance that he has had, not just at Arizona State, but at Nebraska, at any of the schools that he was at prior to his time in Tempe, which I think is phenomenal. Say what you want about the INT, like the game, in my mind, I'm not, again, putting that on Jeff at the end of the day. He went nuts today, and Kenny Dillingham was asked about Jeff, and Jeff was asked about his relationship with Kenny in that post-game presser, and Jeff gave a really good answer.
It means the world, man. Coming out of Nebraska, it was low times, dark place for me, and I just appreciate Dilly for taking a chance on me. I told him that I just wanted to work, I just wanted to play football, and even with me coming back this year, I just knew that anything that I could do to help my team, I was going to do it, because we've built that brotherhood, and I love these guys to death. I truly look at them as family. So it's been so – I'm just so grateful to have been here.
Yeah.
You had a really good game.
But when the time came for me to make a play, I didn't. And, that's probably going to be the only thing I'm thinking about. It's cool to have the touchdowns and all that, but we didn't win, and we was in a position to win, and we didn't get it done.
For 175 yards accounted for 5 touchdowns, 71% completion percentage in the football game. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good way to end it. It would have been way better if we would have won the football game, as he said, but that dude's a special dude. Our team rallied behind him. Our team's faced a good amount of adversity this year, and we tried not to flinch. Obviously, things didn't go our way, and that's football, that's life, but this guy was a big part of why our team stayed together and why our team rallied to play so hard in this game and go on a 3-game winning streak there in the middle when people thought it was ending and the season was over in week 9, and for us to keep battling to get to this point, just one play short.
Arizona State doesn't win as many games as it did this season. They don't win 8 games if Jeff Sims is not the quarterback when Sam is out. That's just the truth at this point in time. And I think for him, it's got to be a special moment, man. Yes, you want to win the game, right? I get that, and I see that that's a sentiment in the chat. You absolutely want to win the game. There's no moral victories. But for Jeff, with everything that's been said about this guy, for all the struggles and stuff that he has dealt with on the field, for him to have this moment, go for, over 400 yards of total offense today for Jeff Sims, 4 or 5 plus touchdowns total on the ground, through the air. Dude was special today. And I think, again, the players out there that scored 39 points, that play defense, whatever, it's a perfect segue into the transfer portal, because you can be somebody at home or on another team watching Arizona State and be like, man, they got a lot of fun. You can look at Jeff Sims' career as a perfect example of man, maybe my career didn't start off the way that I thought it was. Maybe even at the second school, it didn't go great. But the right environment, the right coaches, the right teammates, specifically at Arizona State, you can have a moment like this.
I have criticized Jeff Sims a lot, and I do believe that some of his play has rightfully garnered some criticism as well throughout this season. I feel bad that interception was really the last thing that he'll remember, because this was one of the best individual performances from a quarterback that we've seen in quite some time at Arizona State today. I mean, this guy was absolutely dealing. 27 of 38 for 375 yards in the air. That's almost 10 yards per completion and a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. If that interception came in the second quarter versus the end of the game and he responded, we wouldn't even be talking about it like this. 7 for 70 on the ground, again, averaging 10 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. It's a 5-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio for Jeff Sims. He played his ass off today, and it really sucks that at the end of the game, the interception happened. It was a bad play. It was a bad throw. And
I just don't think he saw the linebacker. I think that's what it was. I think his eyes were looking downfield, didn't see linebacker. What sucks most is that's his last pass. He did all that today, and Jeff Sims' last career pass is going to be an interception. That sucks regardless. He's getting bottle service. Let's head straight to it. Jeff Sims is our bottle service player for the end of the 2025 season. Somebody that did remarkable things today. And the criticism, say what you want about him, he was a backup quarterback, man. Backup quarterback's not going to always play great, but I'll tell you what, there are a lot of backup quarterbacks that don't do what Jeff Sims did with the opportunity that he was given, not just today, but through the last, 5-6 games. Yeah,
he's been put in a really tough spot too. This is a backup quarterback. This is somebody that you weren't expecting to have to start for this long, and that you were going to have to rely on the amount that this team has had to rely on him for. And so to have to go through that and to be put in the situation and to have, again, some of the most, impressive historic single game performances that we've seen from a quarterback at Arizona State. And so this is an unfortunate final play, but an overall good game from Jeff Sims. I think a very deserving bottle service. I do think there were a couple of other names, Totri as well, that could be in this conversation. I think we hit those after the break, but do you have any final thoughts on what will be Jeff Sims' final game and what has been a very up and down college career?
Good for you, man. That's what I got to say. For Jeff Sims to come in here with everybody that says what they think they know, as armchair quarterbacks, as armchair coaches, good for you, Jeff Sims, to come out here against a Power 4 conference champion, to lay it all out on the field. In -1 throw today at the end of the game, you couldn't be stopped through the air, on the ground. You were a true general out there on the field today, and I think that showed. So that's what I got to say about Jeff Sims.
I echo that. And as Jeff Sims exits college football, there's a whole lot of young guys on this team that look like they're going to be having a promising future. Let's get to those. Wrap up the PHNX Sun Devils postgame show on the other side of our final break. Look, you don't have New Year's Eve plans yet? Well, guess what? I just got them for you. Head on over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos because no one does it better. And to close out 2025, you can ring in the new year at any of the 4 Gila River locations. All 4 properties will have food and drink features, free New Year's Eve party favors, and more, plus a special and unique theme. That's right. You can go to Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, Bequiva, Santan Mountain, and get the best the Valley has to offer on the final night of 2025. But if you don't make it out there tonight, there's plenty of other opportunities for you to go out and have a great time at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Like on Monday, come on over to the PHNX Suns watch party, like I mentioned before, as they take on the Rockets over at Wild Horse Pass, or go out for a night on the town with your friends or your family if they are in town for the holidays. Hit the state-of-the-art gaming floor, go to the sports book to catch any of the action this weekend, and of course, all of the college football that's coming up for the rest of 2026, I guess, in January, because it's the end of 2025, and really anything that you want, a nice staycation, hang out by the pool, go get a nice meal, as long as you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And if there's one place where you do you and it is on display every single year, it is the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And this year, join our friends over at Don Julio, who are returning to the Valley on February 3rd through the 8th and taking over the Open. That's right. They're offering a range of fun experiences and activities all week that you aren't going to want to miss out on. First, of course, the main attraction will be there set up at the Fairway House above the 12th hole, where you can get a margarita on draft. I might need one of those right now. Take a photo with the Don Julio truck and even get complimentary water, which might be the most important thing that you could be drinking that day. Plus, you can stop by the 5th hole entrance located at the Fairmont for a personalization station, product samplings, and elevated Don Julio cocktails, and more. Keep an eye out for more announcements, and keep an eye out because some of our PHNX crew might be there as well. So if you're planning on attending the tournament this year, make sure you visit our friends over at Don Julio across the venue, and make sure you tell them that PHNX sent you.
Also,
Whew.
Eric, I think you forgot to tell our friends about the Arizona Lottery.
No, I talked about the Arizona Lottery.
I think he did.
Okay.
I think he told him about the Arizona Lottery in the second break. Yeah, I think that was the second break. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review.
I do love the Arizona Lottery, though.
You get your podcasts. Guys, I know we talked about some building blocks, some younger players. Let's go ahead, kick it straight to Happy Hour Heroes, because it's headlined by one of those young building blocks, and that is, of course, running back Jason Brown Jr., who had 12 carries for $120 on the ground. An absolutely monster performance from him. And then on the flip side of having a younger player, got to have maybe an old vet on his way out, Elijah O'Neal, with 5 tackles and 1.5 sacks today. What did you see from those two today, Rubus?
Jason Brown Jr. looks like the future. I mean, I'm being so serious. We talk about the lineage of running backs here at Arizona State, and Jason Brown Jr. There's been a lot of buzz by guys like you that are at practice about, hey, this kid is strong. This kid has all the tools and what it takes. And my, oh my, did he show it. And I know Man had an up and down game, a really great game in the air, not a great game on the ground. But as soon as Jason Brown Jr. touched the ball, my Lord,
explosive.
He was all over it, man. He looked every bit of what you could expect from an Arizona State running back. And you look towards next year, Totri, and that conversation gets interesting as to who's going to be running back 1, because this is one of the best on-the-ground performances we've seen from a running back at ASU this year.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting, to say the least, right? I think there have been a lot of people in media that have been kind of banging their fists on the table of like, hey, why does Jason Brown Jr. not get a ton of carries in the game? I know for me specifically, I wanted to try Jason Brown Jr. out as like your short yardage guy, right? As your goal line guy, because you were having issues punching it in. Today, he showed you that I think he can be more than that he can be an explosive player. I think the question then becomes, can he be a 3-down running back where he is out there and really participating in all facets of the game? You look to the future at the running back position at Arizona State. It's crowded, to say the least, right? Your odds are you're going to get Kyson Brown back. You're going to get Jason Brown back. Kanye Udo still hasn't officially entered the transfer portal to, public knowledge. So that's 3 backs right there. Got Grayson Rigdon, who played today. Didn't play a ton, true freshman. You got Man, and then you're bringing in Carde Mack. That's 6 backs, assuming you don't lose another one and you don't add somebody from the transfer portal. So there's going to still be heavy competition, I think, throughout the offseason of who's RB1. I still think it's Kyson Brown at this point in time going into the season. But I think Jason Brown has a bright future. He showed that today. Young player, fumble. I think Dilly said it best. Like, he didn't try to fumble, right? It's not like he threw the ball on the ground. Just a young player that had to learn a lesson. And he was explosive every time he touched the ball, man. He was exactly what we thought he was going to be. He's a young player. He's shorter, which may sound like a disadvantage to some, but at that specific position, it's an advantage, right? Linebackers, DBs in the back end of the defense can't really see you over the offense and defensive line, who tower at 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", right? So they can't see you really going through these holes. He's quicker than I think a lot of people anticipated. And the best part about him is because he's shorter, his lower body of gravity is he's got a big lower half. Dude, he's tough to bring down. And I think you saw that today. He continues to show you why he could be a real threat in this offense next year.
Yeah, I really do think that he'll at least be a part of it. I mean, running back 1 is such an interesting conversation going into this year. It was like, oh, 3-headed running back monster. Then it was just Raleek Brown. I think if he produces like this, which again, Duke has an abysmal defense. And I think we also have to acknowledge that. Like, Duke has a very bad defense.
It's horrible.
Like, one of the worst defenses in the entire Power 4.
Yeah.
Like,
horrible. They're ass.
It's bad, right? And so it's not going to be like Jason Brown Jr. can walk into Big 12 play and put up 12 for 120 every single game. But I think you saw a lot of buildable runs from him today, and the positives far outweighed the negatives. And the negative was a big, loud negative at the end, and that really, really sucks. And it is a part of the reason why they lost the game. But overall, he put together a really great performance there and gave you something to be excited for. I forget who we were talking to, I think in the offseason, but we were asked about like who really impresses you in the weight room.
It was
like
Kanye.
Who's
Kanye.
lifting? Yeah, Kanye goes, Jason Brown Jr. is the guy who impresses me the most in the weight room. And again, this is one of the youngest players on the roster right now. So it was exciting to be able to get a look at him and to see him average 10 yards a carry over 12 carries for this game with a long of 44. I don't care what defense you're going up against. That is somebody that age who hasn't played that much football. It's impressive that you really get to do that in your first showing.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think, again, on the topic of building blocks, some interesting pieces on the offensive line today. Jalen Clem, Champ Westbrooks, you had Makua out there. Like, there was some interesting pieces along the offensive line. I don't believe Jeff Sims got sacked today. I could be wrong on that. I can't think of it off the top of my head that Jeff got sacked. So I think the offensive line overall played well today, right? I mean, that's part of the reason why Jeff was able to deliver the ball, to some key spots through the air, and why the running backs were able to do what they were, very capable of doing on the ground. So you got to tip your cap to the offensive line. And then in terms of like young building blocks, is there anybody defensively that you kind of look at?
I mean, Tony Lewis and Kuba, I thought, had a good game. And I know you shouted him out for his interception beforehand. I really liked that from him. Honestly, I don't know if anybody else like really, really stood out to me from the young end. I know Martell Hughes had another good game. Like he's really good, but I feel like that's somebody that we've already been talking about. I know that he's a sophomore right now, but to me, it's like, okay, he's kind of been in our lexicon. So those, if I did point out two of like anybody below junior, it would be Tony Lucincuba and Martell Hughes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that end. Again, I think Kai McDonald's interesting at the safety position. You saw some guys, defensive line, rotate in. Not a great look at them because you still did have, of all the positions, defensive line was still littered with vets, right? Prince Dorva, Elijah O'Neal, Justin Watley, CJ Fight, Jacob Kangaika, all playing today, right? So you didn't see a ton of Ramar Williams. You didn't see a ton of Albert Smith either. So I think those are going to be interesting pieces. I also think this team is going to add a lot in the transfer portal on the defensive side of the ball. But again, that's not till Friday, right? That the portal window opens on Friday. We'll be doing a live show on Friday, leading everybody up to the transfer portal, what maybe you can expect at some positions, maybe some players. So I'm really excited for that Friday show. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. Rubus, do you have any final thoughts kind of before we get out of here on what we saw today and maybe just the season as a whole? I'm sure we'll do an entire show maybe once the dust is settled on this 2025 season, but immediate reactions, the way that you felt about really this bizarre 2025 season that ends with a 3-point loss to the ACC champ Duke Blue Devils.
I'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to Jesus Gomez with the third longest field goal in Arizona State history, a 54-yarder today, only behind Luis Zendejas at 55, November 6, 1982 versus Oregon State. And then, of course, a 59-yarder in 2016 against Colorado by Zane Gonzalez. So, I mean, a really good kick for Jesus Gomez. He didn't get to really show off his leg that often today. But overall, my thoughts are like the initial disappointment in how this game ended was quickly kind of washed away just from the fact that, like, I don't want to say I'm grateful this season is over, but I think I'm looking forward to what's next.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, transfer portal opens on Friday. I think that this program is in the best position that it's been in for a long time for sustained success. But sustained success doesn't mean every single year you top what you did the year before. I'd be lying to you if I said that I thought that on December 31st, we'd be talking about a Sun Bowl loss to Duke. If we were talking at the beginning of August, I'd be lying to you if I said that would have happened. But what happened. This season happened. Overall, given the circumstances, there are some impressive things that we saw from this team this year. Kenny Dillingham got an extension. His coaches are getting paid more. He got more NIL. There's going to be a mass exodus for a variety of reasons, either before this game and now following this game as well. And the stage is set for what can you do now? Year 4 for Kenny Dillingham. What are you able to do going forward? What are you able to do in the transfer portal? You've had success. You got a lot of holes that you need to fill, and you clearly are able to get a winning product. How high can you get it? I think the pressure now is on. Not that he's on the hot seat, obviously, but it's time to now make this consistent. And I think a lot of fans are going to be expecting a better outcome once we hit the end of 2026 than what they got in 2025. And I do believe that this program's in the right place to capitalize on that. It was a fun game objectively. I wish that it ended in ASU's favor. There were a couple of pieces that I'm happy about, but at the end of the day, I'm the happiest to look at transfer portal season and get ready for what should hopefully be a much more fun 2026 season than this 2025 season was.
Yeah, look, this year started with a heartbreaking loss to Texas, and it ends with a heartbreaking loss to Duke. I think this season had so much hype. I think there was so much on the players going into this season. Now I think you look to the offseason, I think there's a lot more on the coaches. Similar to there was maybe a couple years ago following that 2023 season. I'm like, okay, it's up to you guys now to go replenish this roster and develop the talent that is here, right? Which I think is evident. You just got to continue to elevate it. And with the transfer portal window opening, again, it's the one portal window. You're going to see Arizona State add a lot of key players in a lot of key positions. You're going to have a new quarterback. You're going to probably have some new wide receivers, some new offensive linemen, some new defensive linemen, some new names in the secondary, maybe a new linebacker or two. It's college football now in 2025, soon to be 2026. You appreciate the players and the games that were played from that college football playoff game 364 days ago. You appreciate the Iowa State Big 12 championship. You appreciate the Iowa State game that Arizona State had this year in Ames with Jeff Sims, right? You appreciate, I think, the second half of maybe that Mississippi State game, -1 play. You appreciate the Colorado game. Like, the 2025 season is over. It's ended. This team, that's it. It's the last iteration of this team, of this staff. That's the best part of college football, in my eyes, is you can have such high expectations. You can have things that you love, that you hate. And for this team, for this program, for this season, I mean, my goodness, just take a second to take it all in and really understand that that's it for the 2025 season. Going into 2026, new guys, new faces, new players, new names to know, new everything. Right, and that's going to be really, really exciting for this team, for this program, for the fan base. So, yeah, 2025 maybe didn't go the way that you thought it would. It is what it is at this point in time. And 2026, you can write all new expectations and things you want to see from this team, from this program. I know Eric and I both will, along with the Deli Man. Let's get out of here on a closing time. It's New Year's Eve. I've got one thing to say to y'all. Happy New Year. That's it. That's all I got to say for y'all for this closing time. I hope everybody has a safe holiday. I hope everybody has a blessed holiday and you all start 2026 in the way that you want to start it, not just for everybody watching, but for my lovely co-host, of course, the one, the only Eric Ruby, for the man that makes all of this happen and possible, the Deli Man. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate everybody that stuck around with us today and all year long. We hope to see you in 2026. If you want to continue to follow us into the new year on social, do it at PHNX_Sundubs. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Senor Rubis at Eric Ruby. That's Eric with a K. You can follow the Deli Man at Shane Deef.
You're looking at him, David, as always.
And we will see you guys next year. In the meantime, go Devils. Peace.